Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. Before we begin, we're going to take a few moments to collect ourselves and to relax before we engage into our discussion. What we need to do is to focus now on bringing positive energy into our lives and into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We have all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our lives will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy. And how we can do this is by changing our outlook, meeting every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism, and once you do this, you will see a change in yourself. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life: family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons why your life is amazing. You will see the change. You will be changed. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful and think positive.
Today, I choose love. From my past, my future, to my family and friends, I choose love. With everything we've got going on in the world today, all the hate and negativity, love is all we have, and it's all we need. If you can start each day with love, you will watch your world change. But the time is now to forgive, to forget, to move on. Do this and your perspective will change. If I know one thing, I would rather live in a world with love and openness than a world full of pain. And it's our choice to believe in something bigger than us. One world, one people, one love.
Will you help us? Our prison ministry is trying to reach women with sons and or brothers in prison. We would like for these women to help us with our ministry and halt the growing population of incarcerated men. If you know of someone with a loved one in prison, please contact us at 734-686-1444 or email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. We must teach men to read to keep them from entering prison or before they leave prison. Men are now entering prison for killing their children. This has to stop. If we can reduce these murders by teaching men to read, to think clearly, and to manage their emotions. Edward James Olmos said, education is a vaccine for violence. We must do everything we can in our power to stop these heinous murders. Please reach out to us. When we work together, we win. As part of the Wall Project, part of the Touched by the Light Publishing's prison ministry, the company sent 5 books to each man in prison. The books were The Devil's Cauldron, If You Believe in God, You Do Not Belong in Prison, It Is Time to Start Walking with God, A Christian is Never Desperate, and You Are the Prophet of Your Lives. Neither of these books have been read by anyone in this country. They were specifically sent to men in prison to get their reactions to these books. Following are some of the letters that were written to the publisher regarding these books. This letter is from a Mr. Mosley. He read the book The Devil's Cauldron. He says, after reading The Devil's Cauldron, I found it to be one of the most enjoyable books I have ever read. I say this because the book itself deals with everything happening today and how the devil can make people do evil things. It also deals with the scenarios that I am facing with on a day-to-day basis and how we can change to do God's work or the devil's work. I personally encourage all people, especially criminals, to read this book. Not to mention, this book is also inspiring if one chooses to live the life in the right direction. I found the book easy to understand and easy to read. I commend the writer for being a realist and for creating a book that puts the devil's criminals to thinking. Although someone may find some of the crimes described to be very horrific, however, it really shows how the devil can lead a person to show no sense of compassion for human life. All in all, I think the book was great. This letter is from a man named Anthony. He says, I am a prisoner at Camp The Man, Level 1 in Grayling, Michigan. I read your book, It Is Time to Start Walking with God. I found the book to be informative and contain a lot of valuable information, knowledge and insight, and understanding the importance of gearing our lives to walking with God and keeping Him at the head of our lives at all times. I could not help but notice the book was tailored for the female reader, yet can benefit whomsoever in who reads it. Excuse me. There were a couple of references made to the Michigan Parole Board being notorious for paroling murderers and rapists, and Michigan being a parole state, seemingly implying that those convicted of those crimes are not deserving of being released to society. That not have that may not have been the message you intended to send, but readers could make the inference based on these statements. Michigan is more of a prison state than a parole state. Prisoners in Michigan serve more time of their minimum sentence than most other states in the United States, especially the Midwest states. I have been incarcerated for 13 years for a second-degree murder conviction. I largely agree with that those who commit these type of crimes were all operating in an evil state at the time when these crimes were committed. But I remind you of 2 points. One, personally, I can attest to the fact that everyone is capable of change. What seems impossible to man is definitely possible to God. I have been saved and serving Christ since December 16, 1996, and I have never have grown into the person I am today without making a decision to stop doing the things my way and start doing things God's way. Even murderers and rapists can change through Christ. Secondly, I am appalled at the abuse of women, physically, emotionally, and sexually. Those who do this should be dealt with in a harsh manner. Likewise, women need to be empowered with the tools to gain control of their situation and not tolerate any form of abuse. However, all cases and circumstances of the murder and or rape is not the same, though the charge, conviction, and time given to two situations can be similar. Situations should be looked at individually to assess if the person is worthy of parole and or if limited or is a limited threat to community. I bring this up because as a writer you can help form and shape many people's ideas, perceptions, and concepts with various topics and issues. There is a danger in generalizing anything with too broad of a brush. Other than that, my only criticism, you seem to support the reader with so much information that it becomes colossal to digest it all because you went in many directions with your issues covered. I would have merely a little to the best. However, I think this book is worthwhile reading and very capable of influencing the way a person walks, thinks, and their habits in a positive direction. Thank you again, Mr. Anthony. This was a letter from Victor. Victor says, after reading your book, If You Believe in God, You Don't Belong in Prison, in particular, chapter 3, which starts on a personal note, I realized how very personal this book was to my life, being that I already experienced some of the incidents being described by the author. I applied the common and spiritual advice given, and I believe it can assist someone in understanding about their choices prior to any harmful decisions. What I've read so far has spurred me to put in perspective that I will be released from prison soon. I still have to some decisions to make, which to put up another gun or to live the way God intended for me to live as a Christian. And this book, in my opinion, can and will help if what she says suggests by applying to our thinking. The author's realism in this book is uncanny, and her research should be applauded. Furthermore, it is noticed that the author in this wonderful read is in line with practical applications of cognitive thinking as well and most importantly with the Word of God. The author said this book was written to the man looking in the mirror holding a gun. It is also written to the man who's already picked up the gun and committed the crime. I look forward to more books like this. Yours truly, Victor. This is a letter from a man named Larry. He says, I just finished your book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life. I was pleased with the contents of the book and felt you did a good job keeping the interest of the reader by using actual events that happened. The way you were able to tie these events and tie them into the biblical scriptures, and those events were excellent research. To be truthful, your book made me question my faith, being I am involved with the Nation of Islam. With the knowledge of Islam is beautiful on the moral and intellectual aspect of life. However, your book made me realize that Christianity brings a person close with the spiritual aspects of life. So the book made me, or should I say, influenced me to come back to Christianity because being the prophet of your own life, keep putting out your books, which you are blessed with a gift that God to influence the minds of your readers to get them on the righteous path of life spiritually if they would read with an open mind. I believe in your gift and thank you very much for your wisdom, Larry. This next letter is also by a man named Larry, but this is out of Saginaw. He transferred into the camp and met Mr. Redwine and was given the book If You Believe in God. He writes, I thought this book, If You Believe in God, You Don't Belong in Prison, is the key to a man's pre-prison destination. The younger men out on the street really need to read this book because it can prevent and help them in tough times before they go bad. It also lets you know that it's never too late to put the gun down and to turn to God no matter how hard life is. I feel we need more books that focus on young men like this book to prevent future generations from becoming inmates. I thank you again for writing the book, Larry. Earlier, I read a letter from a man. I said his first name was Anthony. Because of something he said in his letter, I wrote him back. This is the letter I wrote him. My name is Gloria Lee, and I am the author of It's Time for You to Start Walking with God. Thank you for your comments on my book. I wrote the book for both men and women. If you read some of my other books, you will read of scenarios more for men than women. I tried mixing the situation so both sexes could gain insight on the other. Relationships are extremely important throughout a person's life, and I was hoping my readers would give thought to developing relationship with God to improve their lives. I thank you for your comments regarding my statements regarding parole. To be perfectly honest with you, I am betwixt and between regarding parole. I have researched the subject and I have written a book on parole. The problem is the philosophy behind parole and the individuals that are approved for parole. Rapists and individuals who have committed murder tend to reoffend when paroled. Their victims are the elderly, women, and children, the most vulnerable individuals in our society, and the injuries to their bodies are horrendous. I agree that everyone is capable of change, but I am not confident in the decision making process to decide whether or not someone really has. There is a hidden danger folded into parole, and that is the person may have been incarcerated for only one offense, but he is in fact guilty of more, even though he was never charged because the police were unaware of his other activities. This happened several times in New York. A man came up for parole. During his application, the state began to require all applicants to submit DNA for the state data bank. When his sample was compared to the records in the state data bank, he was associated with several rapes and a rape and murder. He had murdered his next door neighbor. A man in Michigan came up for parole. He submitted his DNA, and within a week, Texas was asking this man to be extradited. He had raped and murdered a woman in Texas a month prior to being incarcerated in Michigan. He murdered the woman in Texas, then fled to Michigan. He committed the crime in Michigan later that month. He was apprehended, convicted, and imprisoned. After serving a minimum sentence in Michigan, he became eligible for parole. Known to him, when he applied for parole in Michigan, Texas had entered his forensic evidence from the rape and murder scene into CODIS, thus the request for his extradition. He later confessed. Another Michigan man came up for parole after a minor traffic conviction. He submitted his DNA into the Michigan State Data Bank. It was soon learned he had murdered a woman 20 years earlier during his youth when he was high on drugs. A man was paroled in Missouri in 2004. He murdered 11 black women within 9 months. This man was paroled after serving 20 years in prison for murdering his girlfriend. A sex offender in Ohio was released from prison for over a year. He raped and murdered 11 black women, leaving their bodies in his house. Family members are waiting to see if he will be sentenced to death. Yes, he was. The reason why I am interested in parole is because our society is suffering from the lack of men in the homes. Michigan has a prison population of approximately 40,000 men. These are men missing from the family in our communities. The objective of my book is to convince men that they should never make a decision regarding their lives without considering how their wives or children will suffer from the loss of their presence in the home. No man should consider an illegal act without considering the effect his behavior will have on his son or daughter. Man was ordained by God as the protector of his family and the leader of his children. The responsibility of the man has toward his family cannot be abdicated. A man can be on the battlefield, in prison, or at work, yet the obligation remains the same. Children and women rely upon men for the feelings of safety and protection. When the man is not in the home, the roles of the father and the protectors are not seen by the children, and the children grow up maladapted. I am trying to figure out how parole can be accomplished without damage to society, causing our families to be restored. I am praying and ask God to give me insight into this problem. Nevertheless, Anthony, I thank you for reading my book. I truly appreciate your comment. I have been writing for 10 years, and this is the first time I have let anyone read my books. 17 days later, Mr. Anthony wrote me back. He says, "How are you doing? Blessed, I pray, by the grace and mercy of God Almighty. I received your letter recently, and it was a true blessing to hear from you. I commend you for your dedication and concern for the well being of men in prison. It is obvious that you have a genuine love for God and how men live and directly connected to their relationship with the Heavenly Father. I try to give as much credit as I can to people who have chosen any form of prison ministry as their calling. To me, this is one of the most special of all ministries, and unfortunately, one that even strongly anointed Christians seem to shun quite often. Jesus commissioned the righteous to help the sick, feed the hungry, and visit the imprisoned. In Matthew chapter 25, verses 35 to 46. You are doing all of the above by seeking to uplift men in prison who are often sick in their thinking and feeding them the Word of God. I give you much praise and appreciate your effort in these regards. As I read this letter, please note this man is educated. I am glad that you welcomed my comments concerning your book and did not take them as criticism, as I was trying to give you an honest assessment on the overview. I definitely believe that people lives can be positively impacted by your writing gift. Please notice the usage of the words this man. This man is not illiterate. Concerning the issue of parole, I find that Michigan in particular has a flawed parole system. Little is offered by the way of rehabilitation, and prisoners' needs are often not thoroughly addressed before they are returned to society. Yet, sometimes I feel that an excessive amount of emphasis is often placed on what a person is in prison for instead of what the person's done and accomplished throughout their prison term in determining who gets parole and who doesn't. Rightfully, so a person who commits a murder or rape shouldn't be paroled sooner than a person who writes a bad check. That's not what I'm saying. I'll use myself as an example. I was convicted in 1996 for second degree murder. I had a disagreement with a guy who I had known, and it escalated until the point that I foolishly used a gun to solve the problem. He was wrong for the reasons that initiated the conflict. I was twice as wrong for violently taking his life to settle the issue. At the time, I was 33 years old, gainfully employed at American Axle in Hamtramck, and I had no prior convictions or as a juvenile or an adult. Unfortunately, that's rare for a 33-year-old black man growing up in the inner city of Detroit. In almost 13 years of incarcerated, I've not had one major misconduct ticket, never been to segregation, that's the whole, and never had a fight, mainly because I accept Christ and got saved on the third and fourth day that I got arrested. And I've grown and walked with God ever since. That changed my heart, my thinking, but most importantly for me, it changed my priorities. On the other hand, another guy can come to prison in this state for, say, drug selling and other offenses considered nonviolent. During his prison term, he can catch 10 major misconduct tickets, go to the hole twice, and have 2 or 3 fights in a 5 year span, as well as have 2 prior convictions as a juvenile and 1 prior conviction as an adult. After doing 7 years in prison, he is now 31 years old and is eligible for parole. If you compare the two cases, you might come to the conclusion that I would have a lesser propensity to commit more crimes and therefore would probably have a higher chance of parole after both of us have served our minimum sentence. But because of my charge and Michigan not really considering institutional behavior as seeking where a person's current development really is, I would likely be denied parole at a rate twice as high as the other guy. Does that seem right, fair, or sensible? Yet this example is not typical for many men dealing with the parole system in Michigan. If you believe in the comprehensive study done by the organization Michigan Cure and CAPP, they have come to the conclusion that those convicted of murder and rape reoffend as much lower rate recidivism rate than those convicted of all other crimes, with those convicted of money gain crimes having noticeably much higher rates. In addition, these organizations conclude that when people convicted of murder and rape do reoffend, they rarely reoffend for murder or rape, especially murderers. When they reoffend for the same crime convicted of, again, is a much lower rate than all other crimes. These statistics were predominantly based on Michigan. Please notice in his letter, this man has done his homework. With all that being said, I totally agree with you that men need to be conscious of the role and effects they have on their families and society with every decision that they make, good or bad. I have tried to instill this concept to as many men as I can during my prison term. Likewise, our women, children, and elderly should be protected at all costs and not preyed upon. That no matter what safeguards are put into place through parole guidelines or otherwise, there's going to be, unfortunately, always be some number of people who will return to a life of crime and commit heinous acts like the men you cited in your letter. Personally, I believe that the best way to ensure that a person doesn't reoffend is to offer them a viable skill trade training while incarcerated, address their mental illness needs through their prison term, and take a real look and assessment of what a prisoner has done throughout his prison stay to determine if real changes have been made in his thinking and priorities. There are good places for the system to start. However, for those who know God and are called by God, we know that everything other than renewing your mind in Jesus Christ is proverbial house built on sand. He is a foundation that brings real and lasting change in our minds, health, and lives. For me, he uprooted the thoughts of violence, intolerance, drug crimes, and replaced them with love, compassion, selflessness, and set me on a mission to try to do what was right in God's sight at all times. Do I still fail sometimes? Of course, but I fail a whole lot less with Jesus driving the car instead of myself. Getting Christ truly and totally in a man's heart is the only way to reasonably guarantee that any man will stay with holiness and righteousness. The principle of God will teach a man how to be responsible fathers, husbands, sons, brothers, bosses, neighbors, and not neglect those duties. Miss Lee, I thank you again for your sincere concern, wisdom, and insight. It's beautiful that you take time out of your hectic schedule to reach out to us. May God continue to bless you, use you, and anoint you in abundance. Peace. Thank you, Anthony. Will you help us? Our prison ministry is trying to reach women with sons and or brothers in prison. We would like for these women to help us with our ministry and halt the growing population of incarcerated men. If you know of someone with a loved one in prison, please contact us at 734 686 1444 or email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. We must teach men to read to keep them from entering prison or before they leave prison. Men are now entering prison for killing their children. This has to stop. If we can reduce these murders by teaching men to read, to think clearly, and to manage their emotions. Edward James Olmos said, education is a vaccine for violence. We must do everything we can in our power to stop these heinous murders. Please reach out to us. When we work together, we win. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement.
Oftentimes, fear is defined as fantasized experiences appearing real. We all fear something. It could be doing what's never been done, or being scared for no just cause. These fears hold us down and create a fantasized, albeit unreal, experience. If you must move ahead in life, you must stand up to your fear. If you must be successful, you must pull through the unreal experiences that fear has created in you. And trust me, you need a good dose of courage to do exactly that. With courage, there's no stopping you. How can you summon the courage to face your fears? As a woman, you're amazing and you have great capabilities. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. How then can you maximize these great capabilities? As you'll find out in the series, Women of Courage, the women we wrote about succeeded against all odds simply by standing up for themselves. Just like them, you can make your life count too.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us. Since the subject of parole is such a devastating and very difficult subject to discuss or deal with, we're going to end this particular show with some minutes of encouraging verses and discussions. I thank you for listening to us, and please have a great day.
What we need to focus on now is bringing positive energy into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We've all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our life will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy. And how we do this is by changing our outlook, leading every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism. And once you do this, you will see the change. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life. Family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons of why your life is amazing. And once you do this, you will see the change. You will be the change. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful. And think positive. I think one thing we can all agree on is how important it is to find time in your life to grow. with your personal development, your hobbies, with your profession, to step outside of your routine to explore. We cannot grow. We cannot expect change unless we are willing to try something new. And that's what I want you to focus on right now. Are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? Are you willing to try something new regardless of the outcome? Because even when you try and you might not succeed, you still grow from the experience. That's what life is about. Being comfortable even when you're not comfortable. And I promise you, once you start to take those chances, you will begin to attract new opportunities into your life. But trust me, this step is never easy. But what you need to focus on is the end result. Are you content with staying the same, or are you looking for growth? Are you looking for change? Are you looking for opportunity? If you are, this is how you do it. You need to grow. Having a goal or a plan to accomplish something isn't enough. You need to dig deeper than that. You need to tap into your subconscious to begin to reprogram your mind. And you do this through positive affirmations. Short statements that you repeat every day, regardless of your goal, how big or little. Whether your goal is to make more money, be a better boyfriend or girlfriend, or find a better job, whatever your goal is, you need to come up with short, positive statements about that goal and repeat it each morning. Start by doing this for 5 minutes. And once you begin to do this, you will start to see how the subconscious and conscious mind can work together. You have the potential to do amazing things. And through positive affirmations, you start to build that confidence. Think of all the goals that you've made in the past. Think about the mindset you were in at that moment. It was one of confidence and control. I will be successful in my job. I will make my next promotion. I will meet the love of my life. These are words of affirmation. Now tell me, what are your words? Today, I choose love. From my past, my future, to my family and friends, I choose love. With everything we've got going on in the world today, all the hate and negativity, love is all we have and it's all we need. If you can start each day with love, you will watch your world change. But the time is now to forgive, to forget, to move on. Do this and your perspective will change. If I know one thing, I would rather live in a world with love and openness than a world full of pain. And it's our choice to believe in something bigger than us. One world, one people, one love. Life is too short for you to be unhappy. Life is too short for you to surround yourself with anything but positivity. And that's what we need to talk about now, dealing with toxic people. Now, we can't change all of our relationships, but we can change some. Some of us might come from families that are not supportive, and some of us come from families and have friends that are very supportive. And that's what we need to figure out now. Who is helping you? Who truly supports you as a person? Who wishes you all the success in the world? Those are the people you need to be around. Those are the people you need to stay connected with. I want you to think about 5 people that you talk to or hang out with the most. Of those 5 people, how many of them are positive influences on your life? How many of those people are helping you build the foundation to your success? And for the people who are not, are you willing to cut them out of your life? Is it worth having people around you that don't believe in you? Positive thoughts attract positive outcomes. And until you can change who you let around you and how much they influence you, you will continue down the same path. But the time is now. You can no longer let negative influences impact your goals. Your new chapter starts right now. Think about the positive people. Think about building with them, connecting with them, because they will be the positive influence that you need to help succeed in your life. They will be the driving force for you to live your best life. It's just as important to how you end the day as it is to how you start the day. And that's with positivity. Now, we can't change what has happened today, but we can change our thoughts into tomorrow. Now, before you sleep, you need to make sure you're in a calm state of mind. No phones, no tablets, no distractions. I want you to start thinking about all of your dreams and goals coming true. I want you to really picture how life would be once you meet those goals. How happy would you be? How would your life change for the better if you met these goals? Now you can start to feel the anxiety of the day slowly fade. you can start to feel the heaviness turn to light. And every moment you stay in this calm state, you start to feel better, feel more confident. You start to feel more assured. And this is how you end every day, thinking about your goals, thinking about your accomplishments, thinking about the positive people in your life, all the support you have, all the people wishing you success. This is how you end your day. A calm state with positive thoughts. Your future is now. Visualize it into tomorrow. Oftentimes, we talk so much about the success of something that we don't highlight how important failure can be. Failure is what gives us those real life lessons. And until you've experienced that, you can't truly understand what success means. Because through failure, we begin to understand who we are, what we're made of, what we're willing to do to become successful. Failure is only an event. It does not define you. All it does is create new opportunities for you to succeed. Once one door closes, more will open. But you need to believe that. You need to live life now. Risk everything for your dreams. No matter what the results are, trust in yourself that you will find a way to become successful. In this life, we do not fear failure. We embrace the opportunities that come from it. Think about everything that has been created in this world. If people would have given up after one failure, what would we have? We would literally have nothing. We do not fear failure. We grow from it, we learn from it, and we move on. When you wake up this morning, I want you to think about a few things. In your life, what makes you happy? Is it family, relationships? Is it working or building your career? Is it school or education? What makes you happy every day? What makes you eager to start your morning? Now, while you're doing this, I want you to block any negative thoughts that you have. This is the time of day where you begin to invite positive thoughts into your mind. I want you to think about gratitude, being thankful for the things that you have in your life, being thankful that you woke up this morning, that you have a job, and a place to sleep, being thankful that you have people around you that truly love and support you. Now make sure when you walk through today, you do it with a positive mind and live by the law of attraction. Believe 100% that positive things will happen throughout the day. And even if things don't go as planned, do not spend time focusing on that. Everything that you want in your life can be achieved. And it's up to you to go out and make it happen. And remember, express positive energy and you will get positive things back in your life. This is how you live by the law of attraction. You need to live life with a purpose. You need to spend the time needed to explore, to find your true passion. There are so many unhappy people in this world not willing to make a change. There are so many unhappy people not focusing on the big picture. 1 out of 3 people are happy with their lives. Think about that for a second. 70% of the people you see every day are not happy. And the majority of that has to do with purpose. People are programmed, wired to be okay with the minimum. People stay in jobs they're not passionate about. They date people who don't support them, hang out with people who don't help them grow. This can't be you. You need to spend the time to discover what your true calling is. What are you passionate about? What do you see yourself doing to make your mark? Are you in a job right now that you're truly happy with? Do you wake up every morning excited to start your day? If not, that's okay. You know now this isn't fulfilling you. But what are you gonna do about it? Are you willing to make a change to help reach your goals? If you are, it needs to start now. Because this won't happen overnight, finding your true calling. But once you do, you will see how everything changes. You will begin to see the quality of your life increase. All those problems you had, they slowly fade. You begin to see how powerful life is with a purpose. Anything that you want in this life can be obtained. You just need to believe. Believe in yourself. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are resilient. You are what we call the women of courage. And your time is now. There are no victims in this life. So I'm asking you, are you ready to make a change? Are you ready to fight for what you want? Are you ready to fight for your dreams? If you are, it starts now. This is the Women of Courage.
Menzies Salon and Spa is now offering $25 flat irons Tuesdays and $55 relaxer, touch-up, trim, style included on Wednesdays. Full body massage for $29. Barbers on duty. Menzies Salon and Spa is a full-service spa and salon located at 22884 Ryan at 9 Mile Road in Warren, Michigan. Call 586 510-4545.
Will you help us? Our prison ministry is trying to reach women with sons and or brothers in prison. We would like for these women to help us with our ministry and halt the growing population of incarcerated men. If you know of someone with a loved one in prison, please contact us at 734-686-1444 or email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. We must teach men to read to keep them from entering prison or before they leave prison. Men are now entering prison for killing their children. This has to stop. If we can reduce these murders by teaching men to read, to think clearly, and to manage their emotions. Edward James Olmos said, "Education is a vaccine for violence." We must do everything we can in our power to stop these heinous murders. Please reach out to us. When we work together, we win. Dear listeners, help us save a life. Stop breast cancer from taking lives. Will you assist us in putting the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer in the hands of 1 million people? Please go to the website www.touchedbythelight.us and download the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer. Then email this booklet to 5 friends, asking them to email the booklet to 5 of their friends. We are trying to reach 1 million women with this information to save lives. The death of one woman to breast cancer from our community is one woman too many. We thank you for your support. Remember, if you miss one of our shows, you can visit our YouTube channel at Touched by the Light Publishing to watch and listen to previous episodes of Women of Courage. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Women of Courage, and have a great day.